Well, China kicks off its annual parliamentary meetings this weekend. Thousands of delegates are arriving in Beijing for the so-called two sessions. It begins this year, though, with tensions escalating with the U.S. and across the region over Taiwan and speculation about potential arms sales to Russia. So joining me now is Amy Celico. She is a principal at Albright Stonebridge Group. That's a part of Dentons Global Advisors, and she co-leads the firm's China practice. So you are a China watcher. You're the person to talk to. You know, I think a lot of people are going to remember back in October, there was this big gathering that's going to look very similar on television to people who don't live in China, and Xi Jinping solidified another 5 years, which was sort of unprecedented or expected, but not usual. I want you to explain to people what's different about this gathering. What happens at this gathering?
Yeah, great question, Anne-Marie. So it's actually a bookend. So last fall started the once every 5-year leadership transition. It will end at this meeting. So in the fall, said it was unprecedented for Xi Jinping to start a third term as head of the Communist Party. What's going to start this weekend are meetings that will lay out the government structure. And so Xi Jinping will start an unprecedented third term as president, head of state of China. And more interesting for those of us watching, he will also put in place the new structure of governance, as well as new policies and, of course, new people who are going to oversee those policies. And so a very interesting next 10 days to 2 weeks are unfolding this Saturday. It's going to start with the outgoing premier laying out what has happened over the past year in China. We know a really terrible economic year for China. But as you were mentioning, looking forward, China is going to set an ambitious GDP growth rate for this year. And then it's going to be all about how is it going to be achieved.
So this is the vision of China's future, most likely according to Xi, because, you know, he is someone that we now know has worked hard to sort of expand his influence. Let's put it that way. Let's talk about the Chinese economy then. What we have seen over several years is the Chinese government really sort of taking a much more hands-on approach to certain segments of the economy. Real estate, technology, certainly media. What do we expect will be part of the plan?
Right, on governance, we absolutely expect that the party will reshuffle the governance of China to take more control over key industries in the finance sector, as well as technology, as you pointed out. And so that is very much according to how Xi Jinping looks at China. He wants more party control over the economy in order to guide it. And so that is going to be a big focus of these meetings, this unveiling of a new overhaul of governance of China, putting a more pervasive security overlay led by the Communist Party into both industry as well as government structures. But what we're all anxious to see is who are the people who are going to be driving these economic plans going forward. We know that the new premier, of course, will start in office at the end of these two meetings. And he comes from Shanghai. He's very closely connected to Xi Jinping, Li Qiang. But we don't know who the vice premiers will be, who the next Ministry of Finance minister will be. And so we're going to be hearing those things. Those are going to give us clues about how will China structure this very difficult time dealing with high levels of youth unemployment, of course, a very difficult property sector crisis, and an aging population. China, for the first time in many, many decades, saw a shrinking population last year. And so these two meetings that are going to be happening is going to be the government's opportunity to talk about balancing, focusing on economic growth, trying to reassure both investors and consumers, as well as deal with some of these societal issues that come out of having had a very bad 2022 for the economy.
It's bound to be interesting. Amy, I could talk to you for a half hour. I think this is really fascinating, but we got to let you go. Hopefully we can have you back. Thank you.
Thanks so much.